In this episode, we move from planning into the part of auditing where credibility is won or lost: execution. Audit execution is where you collect evidence, test controls, document what you observed, and build a defensible basis for findings. AI can help with execution because it can process large volumes of information quickly, spot patterns humans might miss, and reduce the time spent on repetitive tasks like organizing records or drafting consistent documentation. At the same time, execution is also where the risks of AI use become most serious, because evidence quality is the foundation of audit conclusions. If AI introduces errors, hides context, or weakens traceability, the audit can become less trustworthy even if it becomes faster. For brand new learners, the key idea is that using AI in execution is acceptable only if it strengthens, rather than weakens, the chain from evidence to conclusion. By the end, you should understand what evidence quality means, how AI can support execution without taking over judgment, and what practices keep the audit workpaper trail clear, accurate, and defensible. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Evidence quality in auditing is about reliability, relevance, completeness, and traceability. Reliability means the evidence is trustworthy and comes from sources that are controlled and credible. Relevance means the evidence actually addresses the control or risk being tested, not something nearby that looks similar. Completeness means you have enough evidence to support the conclusion, including evidence that could challenge your initial view. Traceability means you can connect a statement in the report back to specific evidence artifacts and show how you interpreted them. AI can impact each of these qualities, sometimes positively and sometimes negatively. For example, AI can help you find relevant records faster, but it can also misinterpret a record and produce an inaccurate summary. It can help you organize evidence for traceability, but it can also create a layer of transformation that makes it harder to show exactly what the original source said. Preserving evidence quality means designing the workflow so AI assists with handling and organization while humans remain responsible for validation and interpretation. One strong use of AI in execution is document triage, which means sorting large volumes of material so auditors can focus on what matters. For example, an audit might involve reviewing many policies, procedures, meeting notes, change records, incident tickets, or monitoring reports. AI can help categorize documents by topic, extract key dates, identify references to specific controls, and flag inconsistencies between documents. This can reduce the time auditors spend searching and allow them to spend more time evaluating. The preservation step is that triage outputs must be treated as pointers, not as final evidence. Auditors should still review the source documents for the sections that matter, especially when a summary might miss exceptions or qualifiers. A beginner-friendly way to think about this is that AI can help you find the right pages in a book, but you still need to read the pages yourself before you claim you know what they say. The audit conclusion belongs to the human, so the human must confirm what the evidence truly supports. AI can also support execution by helping auditors build and maintain a consistent evidence index. In real audits, evidence can become messy because many artifacts arrive from different people in different formats across different weeks. AI can help label and organize artifacts, extract metadata, and map which evidence relates to which control objective. This supports traceability because later you can show which artifact supported which statement. The risk is that automated labeling can introduce mistakes, such as misclassifying a document or associating it with the wrong control area. To preserve quality, auditors should verify the index for key artifacts and spot-check classifications, especially for high-risk findings. They can also enforce naming and versioning conventions that make it clear which artifact is the official version. A well-organized evidence set is not just neat. It reduces the risk of basing conclusions on outdated or irrelevant information. AI can help create order, but human review keeps that order accurate. Another execution use is analysis of structured records, such as logs, alert histories, change tickets, and access review results. AI can help identify trends, clusters, outliers, and recurring exceptions that might signal control weaknesses. For example, it could help group changes that lack approvals, identify periods where monitoring reviews were skipped, or highlight repeated overrides of AI outputs that suggest model instability. This can expand coverage and help auditors prioritize deeper testing where risk appears concentrated. The evidence quality requirement is that any pattern identified by AI must be verifiable through the underlying records, and the audit team should be able to explain the method used to identify the pattern. If an AI tool suggests that incidents increased, auditors should confirm the count, confirm the definition of incident used, and confirm that the time window is consistent. Otherwise, the audit can end up with conclusions that are based on a misread trend. Preserving evidence quality means treating analytical outputs as starting points for verification, not as conclusions. Interviews and walkthroughs are another area where AI can help without taking over. During an interview, auditors might take notes, capture key statements, and document process steps. AI can help summarize notes, highlight themes, and propose follow-up questions that probe for control operation rather than policy statements. This can improve execution by making interviews more focused and by reducing the risk that important details are lost. The risk is that summaries can misrepresent what was said or remove nuance, especially if people used careful language like usually, sometimes, or only in emergencies. In auditing, those qualifiers matter because they describe exceptions and control boundaries. To preserve evidence quality, auditors should keep original notes and recordings where permitted, and they should validate AI summaries against those originals before using them in work papers. They should also remember that interviews are not proof on their own. They are evidence that must be corroborated with records. AI can help manage the information, but corroboration is still the human auditor's responsibility. Testing controls is at the core of audit execution, and this is where AI assistance must be used carefully. Control testing often involves checking whether specific requirements were met, such as whether approvals exist, whether monitoring reviews occurred, whether access was restricted appropriately, or whether incident triggers led to escalation. AI can help by scanning a set of records for missing fields, identifying mismatches, or comparing evidence to stated policy requirements. That can reduce manual effort and improve coverage, especially when there are many records. The risk is that AI can misread context and label something as missing when it is present in a different format, or label something as present when it is incomplete. Auditors preserve quality by defining clear test criteria, validating AI results through sampling, and ensuring that any exceptions identified are supported by direct evidence. The most defensible approach is to treat AI as an assistant that helps find candidates for exceptions, then have auditors confirm those exceptions with source review. That keeps the control test results grounded in verifiable facts. A crucial evidence quality practice when using AI is maintaining a clean separation between raw evidence and transformed outputs. Raw evidence is the original artifact, like a log export, a ticket record, a policy document, or an approval record. Transformed outputs are summaries, categorizations, or analyses created by AI. The audit trail must make it clear which is which, because conclusions must be traceable to raw evidence. If the work papers contain only transformed outputs, a reviewer may not be able to validate that the original evidence supports the conclusion. This becomes especially important if a stakeholder challenges the audit report. A strong practice is to store raw artifacts in a controlled repository, then store AI outputs as working aids that reference the raw artifacts. In that design, AI outputs accelerate work, but they do not replace the evidentiary record. For beginners, the key takeaway is that transformation is convenient, but traceability demands that you can always point back to the original source. Another risk to evidence quality is that AI can introduce confident errors in drafting work papers and interim conclusions. An AI-generated paragraph might sound polished while including a subtle factual mistake, an incorrect date, or an overstated claim. If auditors copy that paragraph into work papers without verification, the error becomes embedded and can later appear in the final report. Preserving evidence quality means using a verification habit, such as checking every factual statement in a draft against evidence and ensuring that interpretive statements are clearly labeled as interpretations. It also means using precise language that reflects what the evidence supports, especially when uncertainty exists. For example, if evidence shows missing approvals in a sample, the auditor should state exactly that, rather than claiming approvals are never done. This precision is a core audit skill, and AI should not weaken it. AI can help draft, but the auditor must review with the mindset that polished writing can still be wrong. Confidentiality and data handling remain a major constraint during execution because evidence often contains sensitive information. Using AI for execution tasks must not lead to uncontrolled sharing of sensitive records or inclusion of unnecessary sensitive details in prompts or outputs. A practical evidence quality perspective is that a confidentiality breach is also an evidence quality problem because compromised evidence handling undermines trust in the audit process. Preserving quality, therefore, includes data minimization, access controls, careful review of outputs for sensitive details, and clear rules about what may be processed. It also includes documenting how evidence was handled and protected, because defensibility includes demonstrating that audit practices were responsible. Beginners should remember that the audit function is often held to high standards precisely because it sees sensitive information. If auditors are careless with that information, they damage their own authority. A final execution concept is quality assurance, which is the set of checks that ensure the audit work is accurate, complete, and consistent. When AI is used, quality assurance becomes even more important because it is easy for subtle errors to scale. If an AI tool misclassifies evidence, it might misclassify many artifacts in the same way. If it drafts language that overstates certainty, it might introduce that tone across the report. Quality assurance can include peer review of workpapers, spot checks of AI outputs against raw evidence, and checks that traceability links are intact. It can also include reviewing whether the audit team followed boundaries on AI use and whether sensitive data was handled correctly. Quality assurance is not a punishment. It is a control that protects credibility. In AI-assisted execution, the best teams treat quality assurance as a normal part of work rather than as an afterthought. Utilizing AI to enhance audit execution while preserving evidence quality means using AI to speed up organization, triage, and pattern discovery while keeping verification, interpretation, and accountability human. Evidence quality depends on reliability, relevance, completeness, and traceability, and AI can support these qualities only if workflows maintain clear links back to raw evidence and require human validation of transformed outputs. Strong practices include using AI for candidate identification rather than final conclusions, keeping raw artifacts separate from summaries, verifying drafts for factual accuracy and appropriate certainty, and protecting confidentiality through data minimization and access controls. Quality assurance becomes even more important because errors can scale when automation is involved. When done well, AI helps auditors cover more ground without weakening the evidentiary foundation that makes audit conclusions defensible. That is how AI becomes a tool for stronger assurance rather than a shortcut that quietly erodes trust.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.